G'day folks, Muzzer here. Just thought I'd say g'day, have a bit of a chinwag about the world. Like, I'm in a pretty lucky spot, but that's not what this video is about. After scrolling through a lot of the old X Twitter, which is X, such as life, you get to a point where you see all the wars, you see all the information going through about all the different organisations in the world, what they're doing, how they're doing it, and you try to balance out what's good for you, what's good for your family, what's good for your friends, or what's good for your community. At this sort of point in time, one of the rarer parts of history is the planet itself is politically claimed, pretty much. You know, the science guys out in the WEF, the United Nations, they look at the world and they go, a lot of naturalists, as you'll see a lot of my other videos, I'm out there looking at birds and butterflies. Nature's lovely. And that's why I like to be out in the bush, because in the cities there's a whole lot of hustle and a whole lot of bustle and a lot of waste and a lot of people running around doing nasty things to each other. But that's the ugly side. There's a lot of people running around being nice to each other too, which is nice. But look, at the end of the day, once we get down to the nuts and bolts of the Earth is spinning around. It's going to be spinning around for quite some time. It's been doing it for a few billion years, ever since it popped out of the sun as a nice little hot ball of snot. We've got Muskie, owns Twitter, got a few rockets he's sending into space. That's lovely. Got a nice little tin cans, big ones. Lots of satellites up there, lots of junk. You know, if you wanted to send anything up there, it's first going to have to dodge a lot of junk. There's a lot of junk up there. They've been doing strange stuff. But the planet's not going to last forever. It never was. Anyone who tells you anything different, well, that's all good. But it's not quite the truth. We haven't been here forever. We're not going to be here forever. Life on this planet's just going to do its little thing in space. Whatever it was going to do, it's doing it. And we just managed to cop a bit of a ride. It's a nice little spot. Look at nature. Beautiful. Once you get out of the city, beautiful. But here we are, we're at a point in time where politically there's nowhere else for anyone to go. So the world, you might as well say, it's not full of people. You know, if you calculate our volume, mass, density, all that sort of stuff as one person, if you go, well, the average of everyone is, let's pretend that they're all 100 kilograms each. That means they take up about 100 litres each. Now we could call that an average. It's probably less, but 100's easy, kind of number to work with. If you tried to fit us all into a box, if you built a box that was 1 kilometre by 1 kilometre by 1 kilometre, it'd still have room at the top. You chuck an esky in, a couple of sangers, go for a picnic, you know. I think those old Egyptian pyramids were pretty big, weren't they? You stick 6 of those together, bang, 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 you get yourself a nice little cube. If they were a kilometre by a kilometre by a kilometre, well, you'd fit everyone in. Not that you'd want to. Be pretty squashy in there. And to be honest, if you're up in space, there's not a lot to do. So this planet here, she's a pretty good place to be. Pretty good place to have children. Sit back, relax, enjoy the sun, enjoy the water, enjoy the nature. By the time you have to zip off up into space, there won't be much of that. You'll be lucky if you'll be just sardine. Probably hook you up to some kind of brain implant, like the Matrix. You're just all sitting there, keeping the place warm, because that's what our chemistry does. Chuck a bit of the old carbon down the gob, goes through our system goes, oh, yum, makes a bit of heat. We don't have to do too much, a bit of thinking, that's about all. Cook up some sugars. At the end of the day, the longer we can spend on this planet, the more fun it's going to be. I don't mean about our individual lives. As cool as an individual life is, the most important thing is not you or me. It's about future, children, descendants. Is that going to happen? Well, I don't know. You look around the world, you look at the horror, you look at the wars, you look at what we do to each other. It's not a new concept to try and figure out whether or not we deserve our existence in this universe. But somehow I don't think it comes down to that so much, because if we don't get off this planet, we can't take any of the information that makes life with it, which means it just ends on the planet. I mean, you were right, we're not going to know. We just die. As to many generations before us, after us, however long it takes before the planet itself just goes, oh, you know what, guys, I've got to do a thing, and unfortunately, that doesn't include life. And, well, it's not going to be habitable forever. You can think of it as a sad thing, but it's not really. It's life in itself. It begins, there's a middle, there's an end. A flower, a plant, a seed goes, germinates and goes, look at this. This is life. Bit of sunshine, bit of water, bit of food, lovely, bit of CO2. Yum. It's got me buggered why they want to take it all out of the air. Well, actually, I think they have their motives. They can sell it back to the greenhouses. That's what a usury governance system is. Basically, when money is Money is the master. And what that means is there's no passion or compassion in profits. You know, and that's the truth of it. The WEF, the WHO, oh, they don't care about you. They don't care about individuals. They really don't. They're all invested. They're invested in your fear. That's a beautiful bird. Gotta love nature. All right, that's 10 minutes. I'm going to leave you with that. There were no conclusions. I don't like to make conclusions. Well, actually there was. The Earth will end one day, or the habitation of life on it. We're going to get to Mars. It's not going to work. Because the gravity of Mars is not enough to hold, not only to hold the atmosphere, but to compress the gases enough to be useful for life. There's not a lot of life up in the mountains, sort of 10 kilometres above into the atmosphere. And that's because the atmosphere is too thin. And the same happens on Mars, but at the ground level, because Mars is just a really small planet. It's not much bigger than our moon. Now, it did have an atmosphere. And that's, you know, you see bits of evidence that there were plastic flows, possibly water flows or heavy gas flows, things that look like rivers or riverbeds, oceans even. Was life on there? There's water. Not a lot of water, but there's water. And when it comes down to just basic chemistry, you need to have pressure. You need to have volume, and you need to have temperature. And when Mars was a young planet, popped out of the sun, nice and hot, it had temperature, it had gases, it had lots of heavy gases, didn't have a lot of mass. So a lot of the lighter gases left quickly. Some of the heavier gases, they stuck around a bit longer. But ultimately the mixture of gases that we have here, 1 Pascal of pressure, you know, acting in every direction. You're not going to get that on Mars. You're not going to get trees that operate under those pressures. You might get some lichens on rocks. But yeah, Mars is not going to happen. I think for the sake of practicing landing and taking off from Mars is maybe an interesting learning tool. We may learn some things from it that may benefit us in space. But ultimately, one of the goals that we need to really look forward to or focus on is not so much where we're going, but whether or not we can get there. Now, you see a lot of wormholes and warp drives and wonderful things that take us to a place really fast. Now, they're not a reality at the moment. So, and until they become a reality, we have to prepare whatever we have in case that never becomes a reality. And in order to do that, The only thing you need to really figure out is how you can get something up into space that's big enough to contain enough stuff for maybe a few people to live, and then have babies, and then pass on their tasks to keep the ship going. Nothing outrageous. One of the things about, technology, which is great, I love technology. This phone here, beautiful. The chip in it, in 5 years' time, it'll be defunct, it'll be dead. And that's what technology does too. I know we think robots live longer than us, and they will. They do. Machines do. They can. But they don't live forever. They don't exist forever. There are too many isotopes in the semiconductors. I mean, the very property that makes them good as semiconductors is the same property that is basically going to have them decay and break down. So they're not a forever thing either. And the best that we can possibly do if we get up into space is have a contingent of 1,000, limit of 1,000 people at any one time to be able to be sustained. So they eat, they replicate, they have children, they die, they eat, they replicate, they have children. And they pass on all the knowledge that they have just to keep the ship alive and, keep the goal happening. So what is it that we're doing? Well, the goal is to be up in space for as long as we can possibly be until a new habitable place comes along. I know it's wonderful to think that one day we may have this magical power and energy to be able to transform a planet into a new home, and that's all lovely, and that's nice. Absolutely, work towards it. But at the end of the day, you've got to assume that you're not going to have that energy, and the best that you can do is go up there and survive. In the olden days, you built bigger ships and you put on a lot more people. If you had too many people, all the food went too quick. If you didn't have enough people, you couldn't get the ship out of trouble during a storm. So, nice, bit of nature. So anyway, I might wrap that up. Where are we? I can't see. I can't read anymore. Getting old. There you go, 18 minutes. Well, if you like this, I'll probably do a few more. Just a casual talk about things. Nothing conclusive. Nothing absolute. Might talk about spiritual things, spacey things, science things. There are a few things that I'd like to share or get out there. And I'll do that at some stage. But at the moment, I'll just flap my gums, say good day, have a bit of fun, and one day you might learn something, or I might. That'll be good. Take care, folks. I'm just going to chill out and listen to a bit of nature for a bit. Ta-da.